Talk about it with Franjez. Today's special guest is a hip hop expert and a music educator. Today's guest is Andrew Wang.
How's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Good. Glad to hear. Thank you for coming through.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
It's my first ever live podcast, so I'm excited.
Perfect. I hope it's a good first impression.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Good. All right, let's start from the beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Scarsdale, New York.
Okay.
So I've always been 914 with whatever. I live in White Plains now. I was born in Scarsdale. Yeah. Besides going to college in Miami, that was a whole other thing. But like 914 has been my life.
Nice. Very nice. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. What kind of kid were you? What were you into?
I was a very shy and anxious kid. Everyone thinks that coming from Scarsdale, like everything was so great and probably so easy. And to be honest, it was a little challenging. I grew up with something that was called a 504 learning disability, which means that I was in a classroom with other people in a general music classroom with a kid that had a learning disability, which is different than when someone says an IEP in the school setting, which is a specialized classroom for those that have the same condition. So it always felt like I felt like an outsider in a sense when I was with the other students, or I was given accommodation. So like if I had to leave the room to take a test, like I feel like I would have kids like giggling under their breath sort of thing. And it just felt like the ugly duck in a sense, like an outcast. But the thing that got me to feel like I could show who I am and be unique and share myself, express myself, because like I said, my shyness was with music.
Nice. Very nice. So what type of learning disability was it?
Like I said, it was called a 504, which connects to, like, you have to take these like diagnostic testing. So I did all that, and it was a little challenging, a lot of the activities, except for one that differentiated me from getting an IEP and then instead getting a 504, which was memorization.
Oh, nice.
Like I can remember things forwards and backwards. Funny enough, recently saw like that cup game when I was in the Uber, and I was like able to just like track everything and memorize like all these patterns to figure out where sequences are, and which helped me a lot musically. And that actually kind of gave me my boost in my musical journey, especially besides having a 504, I had a speech impediment.
What's IP?
IEP stands for Individualized Education Plan. That's like when you have other guidance counselors, social workers that like, there's like a meeting that happens with the parents, and you go over what strengths the student possesses and what improvements they need based on either behavior, academic, social, that type of thing.
What age did you learn that music was your thing?
I mean, I always told people I learned how to whistle before I could talk, sort of thing. So, God, I would say like 4 or 5 or something like that. I was like the rhythm too. I was able to snap easily. I was very into it when I saw my first ever music video, which was NSYNC doing Bye Bye Bye. And I was like, oh my God, look at all of them like doing it together, and they're having so much fun doing it. Like, this is what I want to do. This is something that I feel can bring out who I truly am.
Nice. What else were you into as a kid?
I was into like what any kid's into, like video games and TV show, computer games. I was a big like. It's funny because they brought that backyard baseball game back, and I was like, oh my God, I remember playing that when I was younger. So like that type of thing. And just watching videos on, well, YouTube was kind of oldish then, but like I remember like BuzzFeed and College Humor. Actually, fun fact, one of my neighbors is like a famous YouTuber for BuzzFeed that became the Try Guys. So like I used to watch a lot of BuzzFeed and do those quizzes, or Sporkle was a big thing. So like that was this type of stuff I did as a kid besides music.
You know, in the school system, they kind of say you're smart when you can memorize the most,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So you should have been a genius because your specialty is memorizing whatever
Right.
you
Like memorizing data, memorizing
yeah.
formulas. Yeah.
That's what you need to pass tests. You know, that's what they look at as the smart kid, the person that can memorize
Now
the
I could
most.
do that. So the issue, well, yes, obviously that was a great strength and I could do it visually. But if someone were to just speak something without me like having any like written verbal thing in front of me, like I needed repetition multiple times to understand how to process that information. So that was like one of the things on my 504 was my
I see.
auditory processing.
All right. So you're better off reading and understanding and memorizing?
Right.
I see.
And it's just interesting that like with auditory processing, it's not an issue when it comes to music. Like I do have perfect pitch, or I had fine motor skill issues, like even now a little bit with writing, or if I had to do like home economics. But if you gave me an instrument, I'm able to play it. You know, like it's amazing that these deficits that are in different ways of functioning didn't have any issue at all in music.
Nice. Very nice. Tell us a little bit about the home during your childhood. What was the music played in the house and what was the food cooked in the house?
All right. So the music, there was a variety of things. My parents wanted to expose me to as much musical genres as I could. Distinctly, my father's very into country music and like old school, like Hank Greenberg, Statler Brothers, Willie Nelson. So like when everyone says like I hate country, I'm like, do you listen to old country? You know, because that was like the basis or premises for other types of music. And then going along with that, I listened to blues. My brother was a big Bruce Springsteen fan, so I listened to a lot of that in the house. I listened to a lot of soul music, pop, jazz. And it's funny because the only style, as you noticed, that I really didn't say was through hip hop.
Yeah, so it wasn't in the house.
So it wasn't in the house, and it was something that like felt like a secret thing that I had to do, like listen to it, or it's not like they were against it. It's just like it wasn't, I didn't know what hip hop actually represented at the time, and coming from a very large Caucasian Jewish community, I didn't have that like big cultural shock of seeing all different variety of diversity, that type of thing. So I just would listen to whatever my siblings listened to, what my parents listened to. It wasn't until I got to be 8 years old when I was at a camp and a counselor started going like, and I was like, oh, wow, that sounds really cool. I want to do that. So I developed that over quite some years, still do. And that was kind of my introduction to like hip hop in a sense. Funny enough, I learned beatboxing because I talked about NSYNC, Justin Timberlake. There was that song Pop, and at the end he beatboxes it, and I saw him live doing it. And then I kind of wanted to trace that back to like, where did beatbox start? And then I saw like Dougie Fresh and
Biz Markie,
and even people said DMX did a little bit of the beatbox. Yeah. So that was something that not only was a way for me to get into music, it was a way for me to express myself. And that was the way I got into learning about not only just beatbox, I learned about production, like machine. I was like, wait, so my beats are made into separate drum pads. So I could create, and remember we were talking about memorizing patterns and sequences. So I was able to create patterns and sequences of beatbox sounds through a hardware. So like, and then funny enough, I even tried other elements without even realizing it until later on when I found out there were hip hop elements. Like breaking, I would like during bar mitzvahs, people thought it was cool that I could like go on the ground and I could try to do like a freeze in a sense. I mean, it was like, I can't do it now. Otherwise I would like break a part of my body. But like there was that. And then in my 6th grade talent show, I did the song Where's the Love by the Black Eyed Peas. So like hip hop was part of my life more than I ever knew it would be possible. So
Nice. And what about the food in the house when you were a kid?
Oh yeah. I mean, coming from a Jewish household, yes, we did have brisket and we had matzo ball soup and latkes, but like any other American family, we had Italian food a lot. Chinese food was a big thing on like Sunday nights. Like every day of the week could be like different types of things. So like Sunday night was Chinese, Monday I think was Italian, and then we just had variety of things the other couple of days. So yeah, my mom cooked a lot of the food. Very good cook. My dad didn't do any of the cooking. He was a good consumer of the food, but not much of a culinary expert. It's like
He was a great consumer of the food. I like that.
yeah, exactly.
I like that. And when it came to the first music you ever bought or downloaded that was just for you, you remember what that was? Either was it a song or an album?
It was the NSYNC Tearing Up My Heart album.
Okay.
And I still have it to this day. It was just something that like I heard that song and I was like, wait, they make albums out of these single tracks? And well, now, yes, you could believe that. Now everyone's like, oh, they're just singles. No, they come in a full album, a full CD. A CD is a compact disc for those who don't know. I used to have the Walkman. I used to like do it all. But yeah, it was Tearing Up My Heart. And it just like had a lot of songs that like were upbeat like that. But then I think it had This I Promise You, which was like a slow song. And it was cool to see like, oh wow, they're singing like these harmonies together too. Like without any like backing up vocal, like they were doing all the work in a sense. And I found that to be really cool. So, and that was my first ever concert was seeing NSYNC, which was awesome. Except for some reason when I was a kid, I didn't like pyrotechnics. I think that could have been like part of the disability thing too. It was just like noise sensitivity. So I got nervous every time, like, wait, are they going to put an explosion in here or something like that? It was weird because the same thing happened with like 3D movies. Like I actually was freaking out thinking like, oh my God, this is real. Like I got to get out of here.
I got to get out of here. Man, so how about now? Are you over that?
Oh yeah, I'm totally over it. And I listen to crazy music. Like I could listen to heavy metal and dubstep type music and it doesn't like faze me how loud, or it doesn't faze me when they shoot fire at these concerts and everything like that. It just is part of the experience. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And even when I did my Where's the Love, they had a smoke machine. And the funny story about that is, so I performed it for every grade. It was only supposed to be for the grade I like was in, 6th grade, but they let me because I had like a fan base through it. Honestly, at the end, like I signed autographs. I like threw my hat at the crowd. I was like, yeah, I'm a star.
My man. Yeah.
And they had a smoke machine. And at one point they overdid the smoke machine. The fire alarm went off.
No.
Yes.
That sucks.
So it was like terrible and cool at the same time. Like, when people are saying like the roof is on fire, bring the house down. Well, we might have just brought the school down, but
it's just smoke though.
Yeah, exactly.
No fire. Who are your top 5 favorite artists?
That's a good question. I would say Stevie Wonder is my top. I love Frank Sinatra. I'm going to put Justin Timberlake in there. Bruce Springsteen. And recently it is DMX. I like to oh, yeah. And if I had to put another, James Brown. I love seeing people, and I saw James Brown, by the way, right before he died.
Performing or just met him? Really?
Here, at SUNY Purchase.
Wow. That's incredible.
I like watching performers that are able to really interact with the crowd, that are very able to like engage with the audience or just having fun up there. You could see that they're not like very serious, very uptight. Like, no, they let themselves loose. They let themselves have a good time, enjoy it. And that's what I think music really is all about, is expression. And I think we lose that sometimes, just having fun, enjoying it.
The performer's supposed to entertain the hell out of the whole crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're right. When you're right, you're right. So tell us a little bit about high school. What were you into? And
that was a good question. So in high school, I mean, it's funny because in elementary I did choir. But in middle school, I was very into, because I was doing the beatboxing, like drum playing. So I did in band, like snare drum, and actually the beatboxing got to a point where my family got so annoyed that they got me a drum set.
I got annoyed.
Well, it wasn't just even the beatboxing. I was also that kid, even in high school, that would like on the desk, just to like, I needed sound around me in a sense. But high school, what was I going to, I was actually part in my junior and senior year. And that's just kind of where I learned about like this idea of community, accepting everyone for who they are. It was called an alternative program in the high school. It was called the A School. And like we had like civ ed advisors that were like older kids helping the younger kids out, like seniors helping out the sophomores or juniors. And on Wednesdays, everyone would come together for what's called a community meeting. So there was equal balance and share within the actual alternative school. So that got me the idea of understanding about what real community is like, what unity is like, things I probably foreshadowed into like hip hop related things. And high school, there were actually another kind of hip hop related thing was that I hated science. I really did. But I had a science teacher that made it seem fun and he could interact with us. In fact, he taught us how to, I think, cross genomes using crisscross by Kid and Play.
Wow.
So like I had him write a letter of recommendation and I was like, I never would have thought a science teacher would be influential to consider for the next steps in my career and whatnot. So
yeah, incorporating music, that's interesting.
Absolutely. Very and he would come in and be like, yo, my name is Mr. Siv, how you doing? I was like, all right.
I like that. Anything else stand out in high school or should we move on?
I mean, I did a lot of theater-esque things. In fact, I love percussion sound so much with beatboxing stuff. I actually, not many people know, I like tap dance for 5 or 6 years.
My man.
So like that was my way. I've always wanted to like have a show where it's like a beatboxer and then a tapper and then they like trade off. So I was very into all different types of arts, whether it was singing, dancing, acting. I did a lot of musical theater stuff. I went to a camp for musical theater. It was called Stage Door Manor. They've had a lot of like alumni that are in film and Broadway right now. And then right before I went into my senior year to apply for colleges for music, I did Berklee College of Music 5-week summer program. So
that's what you did after 12th grade?
And after 11th grade.
Okay.
Going into 12th because I had to audition to get ready for school. So this program allowed me to like see what college classes are like. So it kind of prepared me for what things could come about when I go to music school. So
nice.
Yeah.
So then you graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when you go to Florida for college?
Yep. I went to the University of Miami, the U.
Why Florida?
I mean, who doesn't love the weather? But
that was the reason?
No. So they had a track program that was the only one in the country to do it, which was music education. And I studied vocal jazz. And it was the only program in the country that allowed me to do that and graduate within like 4.5 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was very into, besides teaching, like scat singing, which, funny enough, again, a foreshadow could have been like the intro to freestyling, the idea of just coming up with things based on how you hear the chord progression and whatnot. So I was very into that. And like I said, Frank Sinatra being a jazz singer. So like that was very inspiring to try to do that. And I always wanted to be, well, actually, that's not true. I started off wanting to do musical theater because I was just a big thing. You're in New York. I was like 30 minutes from the city. So I was like, and I had friends that were studying it. And then I realized with the accommodations that I needed, I always felt encouragement and support by my teachers. I never felt like there was anyone that was trying to, well, except for one guitar teacher, but that's a whole other story when I was a kid. And that made me try to be a perfectionist, which now I know is like impossible. but they really helped guide me and encourage me and feel like I could get to anywhere I wanted to with the right work ethic and just with the right effort. And that's what I want to inspire to with kids. So I was like, maybe I should be a music teacher. And that's when I changed, because it was literally in 11th grade I was going to do theater, and then I immediately changed so that way when I auditioned it was for music education programs.
Nice. Perfectionism isn't real. Explain that a little bit.
It's like when people say practice makes perfect. I've learned recently it's practice makes progress. That we're all still growing. We're all trying to get to a level of success, and there's always more to go after. That the idea that you're never going to be finished. You're never going to be like, I've accomplished everything I needed to. Because if that were the case, then you would just quit. You'd be done. But if you notice, people don't. They keep pushing or trying to reinvent themselves, re-innovate themselves. So like I said, as a kid, I would always think like I had to do this perfect. I had to make sure I had to sing every note perfect, or if I were playing the guitar to bend it but then it kind of then disengages your interest because you're focusing on the mechanical side, the technical side. But what about the emotional, artistic expression side? That feels like it goes on the wayside. So I started to see it as it could be both. Obviously, it's important to be technical. It's very important to make sure that you're playing things correctly. And one should be able to play with some feeling and expression, or something that has a connection to the music in which you are playing, or wanting to convey the message over to your audience.
I agree 100%. When I was young, I used to say, they say practice makes perfect, but what's the point of practicing if no one's perfect?
Right.
I don't say that anymore because what I'm saying kind of sounds like don't do anything because you can't be perfect.
Right.
So I kind of stopped saying that phrase, but it's kind of the same thing that you're saying.
Right, exactly.
And it's like there are some people that are born with it in their soul to create artistically, and there's some people that don't have that. The people that don't have that, they need that structure. They need the guidelines. They need that perfection. People that have it in their soul, they could just create.
Right, it's just innate.
It's two different types of artists.
It's funny when I meet people that aren't technical musicians, sometimes they do have a better ear than I do, because I focus on maybe that particular scale or arpeggio, or that based on the key, like what is the chord progression. But no, they just hear it and they're like, oh, I wonder if this sounds like it. And then like they have the ear to do it,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about Miami, undergrad at University of Miami. Tell us about that school. What is that class like?
What is the class like?
Yeah, the music class. Like, what
that's a good question. So like,
what are you learning? What are the kids doing? What's homework? What's tests like?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of that. We would do like ear training classes, music appreciation classes. Everyone was assigned to an ensemble in which to prepare for certain concerts. I think it's like twice a year type thing. We had, and especially as you also had to take your general ed classes as well within the music. I found not a loophole. It was like a way to make it easier. I would take like in the summer these like English and science type things that I had to, so that way I could focus on the music stuff when I was in music school. I would say, what other classes were there? Oh, and then we had like forums on Friday where we watched other performers, or we've had master classes of people come in and like talk about whether it's like the industry or performers or that type of thing. And what else did I say? There's music theory classes. And since I was a vocal jazz major, I had to take jazz skills classes. There were keyboard skills classes. So like everyone thinks that you're just going to school and just jamming all day. It's not the context of what music school is. And my music school was challenging. Let's see, I had choral conducting classes. I had to do field work as a teacher, observing other teachers, and then doing my own student teaching senior year. So I think at the end of entire time I was there, I had 138 credits that I did,
Nice.
which is typical for music. Everyone else is like finishes with like 30, you know,
Yeah.
but like there's a lot of classes that are only like half credit or some even 0 credit. But what I really enjoyed about the program, not only were the classes, but connecting with the professor. So Miami, everyone thinks is like a huge school. My class, like outside music, maybe 2,000.
Mm.
It's a private research university. It's not a state school. So in my class, there's about probably 500 kids in the entire music school. So like 150, and then within what I was specializing in, I was one other person.
Wow.
So classes were, and I kind of liked that, especially as someone that had a lot of accommodations in high school, felt overwhelmed by large class sizes. So like, I think the largest class size could have been like 25,
Oh, that's
30.
great.
Yeah. And it was also nice that like when it's burning hot outside, they had like the best air conditioning I probably ever had.
Right. Yeah, Florida takes their AC serious.
Yeah,
Central AC
joke.
everywhere.
It ain't no joke. And I mean, like, it was just cool to be in the community in Miami too. I got to play with Cuban musicians. I got to see Art Basel. I got to see Wynwood Walls, like all the cool
Nice.
artwork that's being done there.
Yeah.
I actually am, well, I shouldn't say close to fluent in Spanish, but I've actually was able to develop my proficiency in Spanish just by going to school in Miami and interacting
Nice.
with people. So like the culture there was like really cool to see, besides just like the school and music culture. And who doesn't like going to the beach on the weekends just to like decompress, right?
Very nice. I like that. And what comes next? Is it the master's in education at Kent State? Is that next?
Yes. So I got that.
Where is Kent State?
That's in Ohio, but I didn't actually go to Ohio. So during COVID,
Online classes.
I did it all online. I'm one of those people that like, now I'm not a perfectionist, but I don't want to sit around doing, I want to always find ways to grow and excel for myself. And it was a time that I felt, because I was actually, funny enough, I was living technically in a Yonkers address at that time. I was living on 727 Bronx River Road. And I had a beautiful, nice apartment that, you know, with COVID happening, it was hard to leave, like quarantining and all that. So I was like, I need to make something out of this. And I realized that when applying in schools in Westchester, a lot of them do ask if you have a master's. So not only was it something I desired, it was also in a sense a requirement. So I decided to go for the master's, which is about a 2-year program. I think I had like 2 classes a semester. What was nice about it is that it was asynchronous, which means I could take it in my own time until the ending of that semester. And it was actually a lot of great support that I got from professors if I needed anything that was involved with it. I even think they did support like the 504 thing, even with an online master. So that was really appreciative because there were exams and stuff like that. And no, I mean, it was a nice way to get that extra extension. I'm glad that I did an undergrad in music ed. Like if I only did the graduate work in music education, but never had the full hands-on in-person experience, it would have probably not have had the same, not the word excitement, but it wouldn't have had the same level of
impact.
Yeah, in a sense. Because, you know, when you're online, they ask you to get these textbooks. One of them is a class I've never wanted to take again. It was like the hardest theory I've ever taken, even in college. Like, I know someone that is incredibly smart that had to repeat that class just because of how difficult it was. But, you know, we make it work.
Absolutely.
But like, for example, like reading a string technique book, but not actually playing a stringed instrument. Like if I didn't have that opportunity to take like my instrumental technique classes in undergrad, it wouldn't feel as impactful as you were saying.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you.
and at the same time, while getting my master's, I was teaching private lessons.
Nice.
So I've always had this idea of like keeping a busy mentality. It's something that I had as a kid. It's something my parents were very much like, my siblings were like. So that was like always my drive and motivation, and just keep on going, finding the next thing and keep pushing forward.
An idle mind is the devil's playground, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Might as well keep busy.
Exactly.
So you graduate, and what comes next? You get your first job? Is
I
that
do.
is
I
that
get
the New
it.
York City Department of Education
Yes.
in 2016?
Yes, it was. I was
Nice. How'd that feel, walking into your first official job after graduating?
initially it felt great. Um, there was just a lot of challenges that. So I was working at two separate schools that I thought were connected based on this arts program that works with Title I schools. It was called Arts Alive, I believe. And then it turned out that these schools were almost separate. Like their policies were different.
Mm.
One school had instruments, the other didn't. One school had a room for me, the other I had to share. So like that was my first ever year teaching, having to go through that, which was tough, and at the same time, it made me feel stronger as a teacher. Like I created two curriculums
Nice.
for both schools. And I never had any issues with kids. I really enjoy working with them. In fact, two of my biggest stories is a kid that left to go to Florida, I guess was moving. And then he came back. And this was a kid that was really like rough and tough at first. And then the first person he wanted to see was me.
My man.
So those impactful stories. I had a kid that this is what inspires me to go to work every day, despite maybe feeling he told me once, it's gonna kind of get deep, that like if it wasn't for you, I would have committed suicide.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that just hits. And that's when it feels like maybe I don't get all the accolades maybe other teachers do, or maybe they get better ratings than I do. And I still got good ones, but like that's when you know that your teaching made an impact. In fact, I have a kid right now who, in my first ever year teaching, another like tricky kid, but like he could rap, he could play percussion. Actually, the next year when I was working somewhere else, I took him over to this studio place in Mount Vernon where my buddy was doing like beat making workshop, and he loved it. He found me this past year through what I've been doing with my other side hip hop work, which I'll get into. And he was like, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Jeremiah. I was like, oh my God, wait. And I looked, and it was the same kid that was like I said, a tricky kid. He told me like, you really changed my life around. You made me realize that like I can't be doing foolish things, messing around. So he was working at a nursery home in Waterbury. Now actually he is an artist. He's a musician.
Good.
Everyone that I've like tried to help musically, like they kept on with music. That's a goal in a sense. And it's not even that they're like professional musicians, but they find time to use music in times of struggle or happiness, like that they found the joy in music.
Absolutely. What is it that you do on the side?
Besides like teaching privately?
Yeah, you said on the side you do something musically with hip hop.
Oh, yeah, I work my most recent research, which actually I'm going to be implementing into a new school, is on hip hop and neurodivergence. So I took something in which, well, I mean, the whole story goes, I worked in Yonkers Public Schools for 2 years. During the 50th anniversary, a man by, you might know his name, Harold McCoy. Have you heard that name before?
No.
He does a lot with the Yonkers community, and he was a pushing teacher at the time. So during that 50th, the Grammys were doing that big show, like showcase of the 50th anniversary of hip hop. He saw
Yes.
that, and he told me, like, do you like hip hop? And I was like, yes. I was like, where is this going? He's like, do you know who DMX, Mary J. Blige, and the Lox are? I'm like, yeah. It's like, do you know who Bill Blass is? I'm like, who? And then he's like, we have a book. And I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is a
No.
book on the history of hip hop in Yonkers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, this book is written by Jerome Enders. He lived in Mulford Gardens, and he's the reason the Lox probably exists to this day. Like Jadakiss glorifies him to help his career, that helped propel his career. So I was, when that 50th thing saw this, and they were doing workshops on educational things with Yonkers hip hop at the library and whatnot. We had a big 50th anniversary thing there. Was so excited by that I went to the Brooklyn Museum, the Queens Museum, the Summits. I wanted to get every single chance to see like what this was like. And then when the 50th ended, I was like, I don't want this to end. I found like a community of people that seem to like really believe in joining together, uniting. And I wanted to keep this going. And I thought, what's the only way to keep something going is through education. So I worked with the Yonkers Lost City as well as, do you know who AJ Woodson is? Head of Black
No.
Westchester?
No.
This entire book is all on Westchester hip hop.
Wow, my man.
Well, these you can get on Amazon. Actually, you could get this personally from him. He runs a company called Black Westchester, if you've heard of that. And that was the thing that I wanted to bring to education, because even like you were like, oh, I didn't know that. The kids don't know either. And
Yeah.
they don't realize how much history and how much great music has come from the city of Yonkers. Not just hip hop. Steven Tyler's come through here. Gene Krupa's come through here. Lady Gaga technically came through here.
Yeah.
So like, I wanted to keep it going educational wise. And I actually met someone, I wasn't going to share it, but he was a big inspiration. And he wrote a whole book on how hip hop could save America and how it's about more than just the music. And that was what really was interesting to me, because I'm like, oh, hip hop, the genre. It's like, no, hip hop was a culture. There were 5 elements. There was emceeing, DJing, breaking, graffiti, and knowledge. And I never knew of any of this stuff until I got involved with this hip hop type scene. So it first started off just as the history. And then when I realized the 50th was one, is there a way to connect history with education? So this, I know I'm bringing out so many.
No, go crazy. I love it.
So this binder, which will be made into paperback soon, is called The Making of a Scribe by Jerome Enders. And it's his story that helped him write this, his education to become an author and a MC to write Yonkers Lost City. So he includes in here like examples of times when he was in school. And so what I've been doing is writing curriculum based on it. And this is where it even gets more interesting, that we didn't focus, or he didn't focus the book just on the music. He was talking about other academic concepts you can utilize within hip hop as well, like science and math. So he talked a lot about the science of hip hop, or science, music and science with hip hop. And that was very fascinating to me. So how I got into the neurodivergence work, and it wasn't something I planned to do at first, was I was going to be at the Yonkers. There was like budget cuts and stuff like that. It was really unfortunate. I loved the kids and everything, and I guess that stuff happens. So I was going to be starting another leave replacement, And I was going to a workshop, like a music professional workshop. And at the White Plains train station in the middle, there's like that little platform before the stairs. And I slipped and hit my knee right on that concrete. So I fractured my kneecap. So I had to cancel obviously the knee replacement. And I was immobile for a good amount of time. And that made me wonder, like, we were doing science and hip hop. So I'm thinking, and I learned about this word neurodivergent, which is like a combination of conditions, whether it's learning, social, behavioral. And I was thinking to myself, like, wait, hip hop has, if you think sensory wise, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Has anyone ever done research on how hip hop can help kids that may need these specific needs sensory wise? They're neurodivergent. I Google it. There's nothing. So at first, or a friend of mine who's like the leader of neurodivergent music education work convinced me, maybe you should go to this conference in Berklee College of Music. They have like accessible for all arts education, maybe apply to present. I was like, but I never have research or presented this before. And she was thinking, well, based on your story, based on your knowledge of learning disability, it might be useful. And I think you could. And so I did get in. And then I thought to myself, all right, let's just apply to some of these other ones, maybe. Because I needed to get some work in. I wasn't working because of and then all of a sudden, all these different conferences were interested. And then one of them in particular was the Association of Popular Music Education. And someone I knew at my music school in Miami saw that I was doing that as a presentation. He says he's been doing some research on it for his son who's on the spectrum. And he wanted to see if we could work together on writing some articles. So the National Association for Music Education allowed us to write an entire article on hip hop and neurodivergent learners. Now, at first I was thinking, okay, cool. People were in articles. So what? I'm just saying. So I was actually presenting on the Scribe thing at the National Eastern Music Division Conference. And the keynote speaker was, his name was Miguel Cardona. Do you know that name?
No.
So he was the past Secretary of Education for Joe Biden.
Okay.
In his speech, he referred to this.
My man.
So I was like, oh my God, this could be real. Like, obviously it's real. It's like written down, but like that showed how much of an impact that couple communities, the hip hop community, music education, and the neurodivergent community. I was like, this could be a real thing. And so I've been since presenting at different conferences. Recently, I just did this virtual one for the UK. I've been doing this internationally, nationally. And we even came up with a couple more articles. So like, remember I was saying beatboxing my speech impediment? Well, AJ Woodson and Black Westchester had an article that we wrote for that. He was also the person I was working with, Jose Valentino, who's a brilliant person, musician, educator, everything. He is the lead writer of a blog for another music education website called F-Flat Books. So we were able to write another article. I was even able to go to Carnegie Hall and talk about this.
Nice.
There's even the Special Arts Education Journal that's going to have a special issue on hip hop and disabilities.
Amazing.
So like, it's not even I keep telling everyone like, yes, I love the recognition, but for me, this hits like personally because of what I went through. And then realizing that beatboxing was my start to my hip hop and neurodivergent journey. So it's just been absolutely incredible, and the feedback and the love and support. And the reason I felt open to it because hip hop community made me feel like I can open and be who I am and not feel judged or feel ridiculed for just being myself.
Absolutely. What's intro to Soundtrap?
Oh, so Soundtrap is a digital audio workstation that utilizes ways for students to make beats through either loops or one shots, or they can use MIDI to create it on like a digital music keyboard. So during the 50th, and here's another thing about me. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't know. It may not be like exactly in a week or a month, but it's going to happen. So during that speech, I mentioned a couple things. I mentioned how in the making of a scribe, I was going to make a music curriculum. So I've done that. Now that took like a year or two, but like I commit to what I say. And then I said I was going to help start a music production class at the Yonkers Public Library. So that was the intro to Soundtrap thing, was having opportunity in the spring to have students from various schools in Yonkers come and learn about music production. And the last thing I said, and I did it shortly before, I don't know, something dissipated, was starting a recording studio at the Yonkers Public Library. And for a short amount of time, we did. So I guess I was using Soundtrap a little bit with the recording stuff and also with teaching them like intro to music production. And what I found interesting was how many organizations around Yonkers do the exact same thing, which is incredible and awesome. But the kids don't know about it. Like one of the schools I worked at is right by Yonkers Arts, and never even knew that was a place.
Wow. Yeah, I never hear about them.
I mean, like it might come like from a flyer or something, but no one's like telling them, oh, by the way, if you're interested in this, you can do this after school. No.
That's horrible. The kids need that.
They need that structure. They need that outlet.
The outlet.
To get off the streets, you know?
Absolutely. So you have a long list here of schools you worked at. I have Mount Vernon,
Yep.
Katona, Lewisboro, Harrison, Elmwood Day Camp, Yonkers Public Schools, Port Chester, and currently Graham UFSD.
Greenberg Graham Union Free School District, which is actually around here.
Oh,
It's
yeah, really?
It's in Hastings on Hudson.
Okay. Yeah, very close.
So that school is a school all specializing kids that have a disability through their IEPs. So all of them have IEPs. So yeah, so what's crazy is that I've done the research, and now it's kind of be cool this upcoming year to take that research that I've been doing and implementing it into the actual practice when I'm working with the students.
That's amazing.
Because they are neurodivergent.
That is amazing. Lost City of Hip Hop.
Oh, that was the so that was this.
Oh, okay. That's the name of the book?
It's the name of the book. And
okay. Yonkers, Lost City of Hip Hop. Nice.
Yeah. And again, something that like I've like shown to my schools, but I would love to like have it be a district-wide thing for kids to realize the music that comes from, well, where they live.
Absolutely.
How'd
you get the name Mr. Hip Hop?
I knew that was coming.
My man.
So before I was doing a conference at Howard University for their hip hop studies conference. A female MC here from Yonkers who lives in Orlando now, on a Facebook message said how Mr. Hip Hop is going to be presenting on Making of a Scribe at Howard University. I was like, who's Mr. Hip Hop? And then she tabbed my name into it. I was like, all right, there it is. You know, like everyone has to get their name based on their credibility. I didn't want to like make it up. I wanted to feel like it was genuine based on the work that I've done. So to see that like someone who was native from Yonkers to create something like that, it just felt natural. And then the hat my girlfriend gave me cost like $65, but it's sentimental, and it just feels part of like who I am in a sense. It's like Clark Kent and Superman, Andrew Wang and Mr. Hip Hop.
I like that. I like it. So what's next for you?
So obviously there is teaching at the school. Still wanting to work on some articles. Still want to do some conferences. The big one, I want to get a TED Talk like really badly for what I've been doing, or get an NPR interview. And then at some point, outside of just teaching and whatnot, is I feel my story could resonate with a lot of people, and I'm not saying that to be like boastful. Like, I feel people don't realize like where my struggles came from, because people only see the highlights, but they don't see the everyday you and the situations you went through.
Yeah, you don't come across as boastful.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I was always like a giver, not a taker type person. So I want to make a memoir of this, of my
Nice.
journey. Kind of like how he made his memoir for Yonkers Lost City. I want to make my memoir to show, especially, you know, if they do cut funding for mental health services, they don't realize that, I mean, obviously, if you need equipment for certain hip hop things, but like my demo lesson, I taught beatboxing. You don't need anything, just your mouth. So, like, to realize that therapeutically, if you're going through something with social, emotional, academic concerns, and realizing that you're using something very simplistic to help alleviate some of those issues, I think is incredible. And it's something that like should be known throughout the country, throughout the world. I mean, I would love to like have this memoir and then like go around districts and explaining my story, explaining what I went through, and showing them that like anyone could do it. That's my teaching philosophy, is how everyone could be successful. They just
I
have to
like it.
find the way they need, based on their needs, to help them get there.
I like it. Outside of what you do and the music and your passion for helping people, what are your overall life goals?
I think my overall life goal is to just continue making impact no matter what it is. Being good, overall goal, and it's always just been a goal, is like I do so much for others that I can't forget about myself. That like self-care is so needed, and the idea of like men's mental health is like something that maybe people uh, shy away from, or say like you gotta toughen up, you can't be like this or that. And I kind of want to make it feel like I'm okay to be who I am, and being um, kind of nice to myself like I am nice to other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're nearing the end of the podcast. If you could please let the people know where they could find you,
Yeah,
anything you have coming up you want them to tune into, and any last words you want to leave the people with.
absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook as Andrew Wang. Uh, you can find me on Instagram, Mr. Wang2692. You can find me, I think, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Um, and coming up, let's see, I'm going to be doing a virtual masterclass for Crane School of Music. They're having like a graduate summer program that they're talking about 504s and IEPs, and they want to see how the hip hop realm could go through that. Like I said, I have these articles coming out for the special arts education issue. And let's see, I did my APME thing already. Yeah, and I'm going to be teaching and doing, well, now the research becomes different. Instead of just like getting studies from other people, I'm going to have a way to get my own case studies through my own experience working in the school system.
Amazing.
So very excited to have that research come out.
I like it. Thank you very much for your time and the great conversation.
This is great. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you everybody that watched. Peace and love.
Peace.